The Average Paul Kagame Supporter. How Rwanda Learned to Clap in Unison. Written by Gabrielle Ndayishimiye. Scene 7. She is merely the curtain behind which God now hides or pretends to. Do you laugh? Then laugh. But I tell you, there was reverence in the act. There was ritual. I did not write to be seen. I wrote to confess, though not to her. No, not truly. She is merely the curtain behind which God now hides or pretends to. I left the note for that presence, which no longer announces itself with fire or thunder, but rather with a slow seeping silence that stains the skin and turns the furniture into witnesses. I wrote in that silence. I wrote into it, and still it grew. The next morning I passed her floor. The air was changed, heavier, as though it had read the note and chosen not to forgive me. I heard her voice, or some cruel echo of it, risen now from the ribcage, spoken in the voice of my own judgment. "You are not well," it said, calmly, like scripture, or an autopsy. I stood there in the stairwell, pinned by the weight of those 3 words, their elegance, their finality. Not well, not well. As though wellness were a gate I had once glimpsed in a dream, but never passed through. As though the sickness had always preceded me. And now she speaks to me often, not with words, with certainty. You understand? Not like a woman. No, not anymore, but like a law, a gravity. She is the voice that waits behind my choices. When I reach for the kettle, she whispers, "You will drink this and still thirst." When I draw the curtain, she remarks, "There's nothing outside worth seeing." I dress, and she laughs. I undress, and she turns away, and all the while she never moves, never raises her voice. That is what terrifies me. Not that she judges, but that she need not. I tell myself, this is projection, that I am merely displacing my paralysis into the architecture of an upstairs neighbor, a simple error of metaphysics. But what if I'm wrong? What if she is the embodiment of that vast, divine indifference that now wears the face of the state and the smile of a bureaucrat who has forgotten why you were arrested? What if I mistook her silence for invitation and it was condemnation all along? The first note, if there ever was a first, is gone. Perhaps unread, perhaps incinerated, perhaps catalogued, assigned a file number, and shelved in some secret archive of failed dissent. Or perhaps, and this thought comes at me like a slow knife, perhaps there was no note at all. Perhaps I only dreamed of resistance and mistook the dream for memory. Is this not the deepest form of cowardice? To imagine bravery so vividly that one comes to believe it occurred? Still I write another. Of course I do. What else is left? The letter is my last sacrament. The pen, my altar, the paper, a white flag fluttering from a noose. I write not to be heard, nor understood, nor even found. I write because if I do not, I will disappear entirely into the walls, into the paint, into the bureaucratic ether, into the long, unbroken night of obedient silence. If this is ever read by anyone, by anything, by a rat, rifling through the detritus of what was once a man, know this: I did not seek revolution. I sought recognition, even from God, even from her, even from myself. Even if the only answer was a locked door and a voice that said, "You are not well." She has become the voice of the state itself, but spoken in a register I cannot hate. Do you see the tragedy? She is not my companion. She is my delusion, polished and disciplined. I projected rebellion onto her, the same way I once projected guilt onto God. And now she inhabits me, fully, unrelentingly. The last note, if indeed there was a last, was never answered, not with a look, not with a sound. Perhaps she never saw it. Perhaps she burned it. Or perhaps, yes, this too is possible, I imagined the whole affair. Would that not be fitting? That I forged my own resistance out of fantasies and cheap stationery? Still, I've written another. Of course I have. I must write. The page is the only place where I am still permitted to speak. They will say I was mad. Let them. Madness is merely thought that refuses to wear its leash. But if you are reading this, you must know. I was not seeking martyrdom, nor even meaning. I only wanted, just once, for someone to knock on my door, even if it was only to ask me to be quiet,